Oh yes, guilty movie pleasure fans. Back in 1984, when Arnold first uttered the words, "I'll be back," we thought he just meant in that scene. Turns out he meant he'd be back several times, and for better or worse, today we are covering Terminator Genisys.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasure.
Woo! I have no idea what the I think I meant to be like like I don't know, get back to the chopper, but I just like totally didn't commit to it and just went Maybe that's how most people feel about Terminator Genisys, and I was summarizing it in an Arnold noise.
That must have been, you must have internalized everyone's feelings about it. Sort of sounded like maybe a car ran over your foot or something. And you're,
I would hope I would react louder than that.
I don't know.
All right. Now that we've gotten that weird intro out of the way. Jesse wasn't here last week. We had Chelsea Stardust, my friend who directed Satanic Panic. If you didn't see last week's episode, check it out. She has some great insight into horror, into Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the reboot, how the original one still holds up, how the new one's a very valid remake. And we talk a little bit about her film, Satanic Panic, and All That We Destroy. She's a super rad person, and she makes super rad movies, so you should totally support her, and she's a friend of mine. But anyways, we're back with a regular show now. If you're not here, a regular, still exciting show.
I was going to say, I feel like yours like, and
no.
Today we have Jesse.
No, we have my super rad co-host who's always here with me.
Nice.
He is the funny on this show. I'm the loud one. He's the funny one. He's the sneak attack Channing Tatum. Jesse McIntosh.
What's up, Jesse McIntosh?
Yes!
There it is.
So glad to have you back, buddy.
Good I
was building up to a return to form.
Understood.
Is what I was saying.
Understood.
The self-deprecation is my thing. You're the subtle...
I'll steer clear of it.
Just stay the hell away from that.
I'll stay in my lane.
All right, so I tweeted out last week, because I saw Terminator Dark Fate. And
how was it?
Oh, hey, Ryan. I'm
hey.
so glad you asked. I tweeted out a review. You can watch it. No, I'm kidding. Well, you can watch it. Just a 30-second thing with no spoilers. I think it's a lot of fun. The biggest issue I have with all Terminator movies after Terminator 2 is that some movies shouldn't be franchises. And Terminator 2 has a very definitive conclusion that feels like they finished the story that was started in Terminator 1. And everything else since then, except maybe Salvation, feels like it's just trying to justify its existence too much. Even though Terminator Dark Fate is the best of the sequels. I will say it's the best of all the sequels, including Terminator 3.
You mean after Terminator 2?
Yes, okay. After Terminator 2. Yeah. I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't think it's perfect. There's some issues with it, but I think it's a lot of fun. It has some great action. The third act gets way too CGI for my taste in some parts. But overall, Mackenzie Davis is awesome as the new... they tell you very early on that she's an augmented human. And I thought the new Rev 9 Terminator model was really cool. So I think there's enough good stuff to warrant going to see it in the theaters. Does that sum it up for you, Ryan?
Yeah, that sums up for me.
Did you see it?
I did see it.
What'd you think?
I thought it was all right. I think they make a very bold choice 5 minutes in.
Yeah,
and,
which I actually didn't mind, but a lot of people hated.
Yeah.
It was a bold choice that we won't spoil.
I completely agree with the thing you said up top about how I think some movies just don't need to be in a franchise. And this is one that is, I think after this movie, officially dead.
I think so.
Which is a bummer. But it's funny, like we covered Terminator... Dark Fate on Action Movie Anatomy a week back, and then we did reaction to Salvation. Terminator Salvation has one of the best trailers I have
the
ever
trailer's
seen.
incredible, and the movie's really rough.
Yeah, there's a lot of shouting on set from what I heard.
Yeah, from what everyone heard. I think my biggest thing is that in Terminator Dark Fate, their best action sequence is the first one. The fight scene between the Rev 9 and Mackenzie Davis that you see in the trailer, Grace and the Rev 9, in the factory, and then the car chase, that is very reminiscent of Terminator 2, and that's the best action sequence in the whole thing. And then it gets... The biggest problem I have with all action films nowadays is they're like, oh, we can do this, so we're going to, instead of should we? Should we have a car? Spoiler alert. Should we have a Humvee fall off a waterfall and be underwater getting attacked by a Terminator?
I'd say
literally at the bottom of a river?
I say yes.
No, you don't need that.
Agree to disagree.
That's why
I haven't seen it.
That's why to this day the effects in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 still hold up better than the effects in this, than the effects in Terminator Dark Fate, because it's practical, because there's a tangibility to it. When the semi-truck blows up in the end of Terminator 1, it still looks rad because it's a miniature that's actually blowing up. And they use perspective to shoot it to look real. I don't know. What did you think about the CGI, Ryan?
I thought the CGI was pretty solid. It actually reminded me a lot of what Tim Miller, the director, did with Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's as solid as that movie. And it almost felt like it had the same budget as Deadpool.
Yeah.
Which I think, this goes to show Tim Moore is a really talented director. He can really do action very well. He's definitely a unique style to it. But yeah, when you have two films like Terminator 1 and 2, it's just...
The Humvee underwater was just ridiculous for me. I liked the end throwdown, but the Humvee underwater, I was like, this is getting to like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Do you feel like
for me.
Do you feel like if we had more Humvees underwater?
Yeah, if this was...
I
think that maybe what I'm hearing from both of you actually is that there wasn't enough underwater stuff.
I think that's what it is. You know what? I just really want Avatar 4.
Yes.
Where they skip to the underwater world.
Don't worry.
But the thing is, no one is seeing this movie because of the one we're talking about today.
But and no one's seeing it because James Cameron came out before Terminator Genisys and said, "This is the proper sequel. I think you're gonna love it." It actually says on the back of this, "You are going to love this movie." James Cameron, director, Terminator 1 and 2. And then what did he say before Dark Fate, now that he's producing it? This is the proper sequel. Not to mention, James Cameron has spent the last 3 years bashing Wonder Woman for not being the first movie to have a strong female lead.
Right.
He's been bashing Marvel movies. He sounds like a grumpy old man telling people to yelling at people to get off his lawn and saying, "Just wait till my Avatar movies come out." And so far, I don't know a single person who's excited for the 4 Avatar movies.
Well, you're excited for Avatar 4.
Yes,
the
specifically
underwater
the 4th one. I don't know.
I know that.
Yikes. There's so many of those coming out. I
think there's 3. There's at least 3 coming out.
There's at least... Does it actually have that quote behind it?
It does. I'm looking at it.
I just pulled up the image right here.
You are going to love this movie.
Oh my gosh, it does. I got it right here.
Yeah.
Wow. The best Terminator since 2.
I bought this for $5, by the way, used at my old Rest in Peace Video Hut in Sherman Oaks. Rest in peace. Anyways, let's get into this, because this is, now that I do want to hear, if you saw Dark Fate, let me know what you thought. Again, I think it's a solid action film. I think for the most part, I liked all the action. Just the Humvee underwater was too silly.
I have 3 questions. Was there enough water for you guys? Yes. Was the Fate dark enough for you guys? And have you seen Pixels?
I loved Linda Hamilton being back. You and Pixels. I loved Linda Hamilton. I loved Arnold. I even didn't mind the stuff they did with him, which I won't spoil. Anyway, so Terminator Genisys, I tweeted out about this very nervously last week, because how this came about was I had seen Dark Fate, and that night I came home and started rewatching Terminator Genisys just to see, because when I saw this in theaters, I remember it got like a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. Literally every reviewer I listened to said it was garbage, that it was a muddled mess, that they hated it. So I went in with the lowest of low expectations imaginable. And I ended up having a lot of fun because I had revisited, and I told you to do this, revisited Terminator 1 before going to see it. And I still, after I stopped myself from watching it again, and I revisited Terminator 1's first act again, then watched this. And I appreciate for at least the first 45 minutes until they make the time jump to 2017, what they were trying to do. And I thought it was cool to literally see shot-for-shot recreations of Terminator with these alternate flips of the timeline. But then it starts kind of canceling itself out and getting very confused with what the message is. And it becomes a little bit of a jumbled mess, as William Lowry and I were debating on Twitter. Specifically, J.K. Simmons' character makes 0 sense now in this timeline. And the biggest issue I've realized with all the Terminator movies is we want to have our cake and eat it too, which means we want to have Arnold in them, but there's no justification for having Arnold past the second one. They already had to tweak it to the limits of our suspension of disbelief to bring him back in part 2 as the good guy. And he dies in the end he sacrifices himself in the end of part 2. So every single movie since then is really trying to shoehorn Arnold back in there, where maybe the secret, and this could be blasphemy, maybe the secret to making a good Terminator movie is to not have or a sequel that actually is justified, is to not have Arnold in it, not have the T-800, and still be like 10 Cloverfield Lane was to Cloverfield, like a side or showing the rise of actually showing the rise of the machines leading to Judgment Day, leading to the rise of the Resistance and John Connor's story.
It is. That's right. Because,
that's the only way to do it, because you keep trying to... Because this is so confusing, watching Arnold in a movie with different actors playing Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor. Just like in Terminator 3, it's confusing with Sarah Connor having died of cancer off screen and a different actor, Nick Stahl, playing John Connor. Ugh. And just like this, it's just so confusing.
It makes it extra confusing in this one because they do mimic the first part of Terminator, and so they have Arnold coming back and then Arnold killing Arnold.
Yeah.
Which is unnecessary.
It was still fun though.
It was fun, but it like immediately muddled what was going on, and it immediately confused what was happening.
To a degree, yeah.
Explain to me, and I may have missed it. I'm sure that I missed it because I would hope that they would have explained it. How the good Arnold made it back to the 70s to child Sarah Connor. Great, they didn't explain.
I think they did. I don't know if they did.
Right.
Did they? If anybody in the live chat knows if they actually... I know they explained that he did come back.
Right.
So he was sent by John. I think they say that John sent him back to protect her at a younger age.
Oh, it's just so confusing. I mean, that's the thing. Whenever you have a time travel in a franchise like this, oh my gosh.
Well, the other thing is that the very message of the first Terminator...
You can't go back and no one else is coming. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't retrieve her and go back to the future and no one else is coming.
And the very act of them sending the T-800 to kill Sarah Connor is what births John Connor, which then leads to him leading the Resistance. And another thing that was brought up in several reviews I saw is that the simple fact of like one person being the deciding factor for a Resistance is a big thing.
It's very reductive.
Terminator 3, if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, but if anybody in the chat knows this, but if I remember right, Terminator 3, the TX played by Kristanna Loken was coming back to kill off key members of the Resistance, which makes more sense to like go back and try and erase multiple people who were the main core of the Resistance, because Claire Danes' character who eventually becomes John Connor's wife, but who sends the T-800 back to protect John Connor as a boy, I believe. I don't know. There's so much.
Well, okay.
So much. Okay.
But this is the thing. This is the thing that they should have thought about. This is what drove me crazy when I was watching the Terminator, because I watched...
Oh, wait. We have a confession. Yeah. Jesse has a confession that may immediately make people break their computers.
No, it shouldn't, because I've said before on this show that there are some major films in the world that I just missed. And
what are you saying, Jesse?
I'm saying that I, up until this week, had never seen a Terminator movie. I did watch select episodes of season 2 of the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
I actually watched the whole first season of that.
That's absolutely not true.
The first season was great. I never saw the second, though.
I did understand that the Sarah Connor Chronicles were part of the Terminator universe. I did understand that.
I don't know if it's considered canon necessarily.
It doesn't matter. I didn't watch it. I did my homework.
Because I told you to watch the first act at least, and then
I watched the whole movie.
How would you think of it?
I said this at when I was like a half an hour in. I think I texted you and I said, "This is not what I thought."
Because you've been in your mind, Terminator 2 is probably what you haven't seen yet. But Terminator 2 is like the more bombastic action is what you were expecting, not this kind of lo-fi, almost slasher film with a cyborg.
Yeah, it seemed almost. I mean, there was action in the beginning, but it was very coy and very like almost noir-y, like the way that they were slowly revealing information.
Oh, I love it.
So
the police station scene is so good.
Just the pacing of it, and I honestly, it's probably because of T2. I thought Arnold was a good guy, and so my expectations were that. And when I started watching it, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting that they're making the good guy kill Bill Paxton right away." Yeah. Which, by the way, Bill Paxton in Terminator, didn't know that. But let me bring this all the way back around. When I started watching Terminator, and then also in Terminator Genisys, if your goal is to nip something in the bud by traveling back or forward in time, why would you go to the moments before that thing will happen? So in this movie, they go to the day before the launch of Genisys, which is absurd because they've been working on Genisys for years. Why wouldn't they have gone when security was less tight or when they were less hyper aware of the danger that they might be in, or any other time? Maybe they go back and kill the creator of Genisys when he was a baby, which is when you should do it. So when Terminator, when they go back to get Sarah Connor, and she's an adult who can like think and reason and run and hide, it makes no sense. Why wouldn't they go back to when she was a child, when she had no one even thinking about her, no one able to protect her, really?
I think that, that's the thing. You start running into that kind of, that's just, you have to suspend your disbelief. And that's why Terminator 1 and 2, they're such well-crafted films that you can suspend your disbelief, and then when you start stretching the franchise out is when you start going, what?
But I'm okay with them stretching. Like the beginning of this movie, I was like, hell yeah, let's like figure out what happens if a wrinkle is thrown in, and let's like revisit all the steps that were taken and what will happen, like the butterfly effect, kind of like what is different in this world now that this happened.
Yeah.
But when you then immediately jump to we're time traveling to this, we have one shot at this, and they go to moments before they're going to release this thing onto the world that will kill everyone.
I think it's because they wanted to destroy it when it was at its full capacity, so that it's wiped out completely.
I would have just been like, hey, like, because Arnold stayed back. We'll get into
there's
it
no
all.
stakes in the Act 3 climactic battle then, if it's not minutes before it launches.
I understand that.
Let's get into this. What do you think?
I also understand. I'm just going to finish this.
Yeah, please.
I also understand that you can't have the goal of your movie to kill a baby or a child. I understand that is probably the reason they went after adult Sarah Connor. But I
mean, Deadpool 2 has a deleted scene where he goes back in time and can't kill baby Hitler.
Yeah, I think like you just can't.
No, I think he does actually put a pillow. I think
it's a deleted scene.
There's a deleted scene in, yeah.
But like you at least have to bring that up. Why? Tell me why.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this very moment? And like Arnold stays back. And they're like, well, see you on the other side. They're not like, hey, man, do everything you can in the meantime to slow down the production of Genisys.
Makes sense, yeah.
Even he's like, I work construction on this building. And it's like, bro, you didn't like intentionally break anything.
Or you didn't like set a virus in there. That would have been so much easier.
No, he just like helped build it. Why?
That's a good point.
Why?
Guys, I know everything about it. I even helped make sure that it's perfectly created. No.
Why did you do that?
Why would you do that?
Because now I know how to get through it. Yeah, but you could have stopped it.
But I mean, like, that's simple. We could have just gotten the blueprints. You could have literally
could have like forgotten cement every day or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it. Let's get. We got 25 minutes. We got a ton to get into.
All right.
Here we go. Should we do the plot in under 3 minutes? Let's try. Yeah. Why not?
Oh. That was premature. That was a premature launch, just like Skynet. All right, here we go. 3, 2.
I don't even know the time. Okay, here goes. So we start off, and Kyle Reese is recapping what happened with Skynet when they launched the nukes, and there's Independence Day style explosions. They're really showing off their modern effects. They show the future now, where he gets saved by John Connor, and he starts working his way up the ranks in the Resistance. He has a photo of Sarah Connor. He's in love with her. They show where they're taking out Skynet, and we find out that the reason that no other T-800s were sent back is because Skynet was destroyed in that moment, and right before they were destroyed, they sent the T-800 back to the first movie. Like in the first movie, and then Kyle Reese is sent back. But before that, Matt Smith comes in, and it turns out Genisys has now been spawned, and he does something to John Connor. Kyle Reese sends it back in time, where we see the old T-800 gets killed by Arnold in this fight scene, and then Kyle Reese is being chased by a new T-1000 that's blades and like chopping off, and they're recreating scenes from the first Terminator movie. And then Sarah Connor comes in and rescues him. Come with me if you want to live. And then they have this awesome chase sequence, and they have several chase sequences with the T-1000 leading to.
I don't remember exactly. I just know that like they end up having to travel to the future, right?
Yeah.
So they defeat the police officer with the thing. And then they go to the future, but Arnold has lost his hand.
So he has to stay back.
There's
no inorganic matter can go through.
Sure. And
it's a thing.
Yeah, okay. And so then they go to the future and they land in San Francisco, and it causes a car wreck because Arnold's late because of traffic.
Yeah.
And then they take them to the police station, and J.K. Simmons shows up, and he's like, I've been working on this for a long time. They're not.
They should have set that up in the first half.
Yeah, probably. And then John Connor comes, and John Connor...
He's like, hey, guys, I'm here. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And then Arnold comes out with a shotgun and a teddy bear, like in The Roses in Terminator 2. Boom, 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 boom. No, you're killing my husband or my son. Nope, he's now Genisys, we find out. There's a big attack sequence.
The MRI machine holds him back, and then they're able to escape, and they go to a bunker.
They go to a bunker, get all these weapons, but then immediately John Connor shows up again, and then they grab like 4 guns and blow up the bunker, and then they're like, all right, we got to go destroy Skynet.
So they escape on a school bus.
Yeah, and there's this awesome scene where the school bus flips over like 14 times. They then go and they plan their attack on Skynet. They have a big battle with John Connor there. They crash a helicopter. They're fighting him, and then
the hologram keeps showing up and being like,
and as he ages, the clock keeps ticking forward.
The timing is going down.
Yeah, and then they set all these charges up, but they can't. The thing is busted. The trigger is busted, and so Arnold takes takes John Connor and brings him into the field of the thing. The time travel machine, and since they're both inorganic matter, it blows up and it takes out the whole thing as Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor escape.
And then they go back and tell young Kyle Reese, you got to tell us.
Genisys is Skynet.
Genisys is Skynet.
And then they... Wow, that was actually surprisingly way easier to explain than I thought.
Yeah.
Let's get into this. So, I like all the I think the future stuff is pretty cool in the beginning.
Sure.
I think a lot of that looks cool. It's a little more CGI. I love the practical T-800 exoskeletons in Terminator 1 and 2, but I don't think it's so CGI that it looks shitty. I think it's cool. I think that big battle where they're storming Skynet is fun. And the reveal, I love the twist and the reveal that the reason only one Terminator was sent back is because Skynet was destroyed. And then you realize that there was something happened and changed, and now Genisys exists, which upon further reflection makes me immediately question everything, because I'm like, well, if Genisys exists, did Skynet in this future timeline already... Did Genisys exist in this future timeline already, and just John and Kyle didn't remember it? Or when Genisys launches, I know what it is. When Genisys launches, that's a time travel machine. So maybe he went to the future. That doesn't make sense either.
Nope.
I don't understand.
Nope.
I don't understand how Genisys now exists in this future timeline when they haven't gone back in time yet to change anything.
So what I think happened was
There's a nexus point. I know that.
Terminator goes back, and all the events that happen when he goes back spawn Genisys, right?
But he already went back in the first movie.
But this is the first movie.
Yeah.
Right. This is what led up to the first movie.
Yeah.
So
this whole podcast is just who cares? Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't make sense. That's the issue. That's the biggest issue most people have with this movie.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that if you look at it as just a purely entertaining action film,
there should be two Kyle Reeses in the past. Then
yes,
right.
And the biggest thing that I have, one of my biggest issues. I love Emilia Clarke. I think she's great as Khaleesi. I think she's a very talented actress. I think she's horribly miscast in this movie.
Tell me why.
When she has these giant guns and she's so adorable and tiny, every time she's firing these things, she's like blinking and like flinching. Like when she's like, "Come with me if you want to live." It's like when Will Ferrell's firing his gun in Jay and Silent Bob, and he's like, "Hey, hey, hey." I think she's awesome as an actress. I just think that she doesn't have the same energy as Linda Hamilton. You need it. If you cast somebody like Emily Blunt, I would buy it. I think that Emilia Clarke is better at more strategic badassery than physical action.
She's more of a thinker.
She's more of she's more of like the Cersei Lannister types, the Khaleesi. You could see her manipulating people, but not necessarily firing giant guns. And then Jai Courtney, I'm sure he's a lovely human being, but I've never found him interesting as an actor, and I don't think he's very interesting as Kyle Reese.
Yeah.
I think Michael Biehn in the first movie is their relationship, Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese, has that awesome kind of romantic comedy vibe where it's like they hate each other at first and they grow to fall for each other more. And this, they're really trying to force that. They're trying to force us, just like Sarah even comments in this that, I'm supposed to fall in love with him. It's like, that's like the screenwriters telling you, well, they're supposed to fall in love, so we're going to force it.
Right. This relationship was
Could you bring
the
clock back up for us, Ryan, so I keep on schedule?
You got it. You got it. You got it.
You got it.
You got it.
You got it. Okay.
This relationship is a problem.
What'd you think of the casting, though?
The casting, it was. I don't think you necessarily need. You need them to have chemistry,
And they don't.
and they don't
At all.
And that sincerely is the only thing that we truly need out of them, because Kyle Reese just needs to be like a super strong soldier guy, which he is.
But I also think he's too beefcake and pretty to that. There was a rough edge to Michael Biehn in the first one. There was like a roughness to him that felt authentic. This feels forced, his casting.
But it was like he's almost playing a different character.
He is, because he has all these quips like, is there an off switch for this? And that's what I said is like, this is around the time, this was 2013 or 2015. So this is when Marvel's already existed for 7 years now. And Hollywood constantly does this. They learn the wrong lessons from movies.
Yeah.
Where they go, Marvel has jokey characters, so we'll make our Terminator movie have PG-13 and jokey characters. When people going to this want an R-rated, more violent world that has higher stakes, more brutality to it, and they don't want their characters saying stupid one-liners that, and don't get me wrong, I love Marvel movies. That exists because there's humor in the comics. It's warranted, but not everything has to be the same. It doesn't all have to feel cookie cutter.
Yeah,
Like,
I
this
mean,
is, again, I love Marvel movies. I own all 20.
You don't have to convince anyone you love Marvel movies.
No one needs convincing of that.
What's the one thing that you like, the lasting memory that everyone has of Terminator?
Arnold, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one-liner that
One-liners.
he drops. I know it's different. I know it's different.
Yeah.
But I think that like that lasting memory also sort of infused itself into the idea of this movie of like, we have to create a new I'll be back. Sort of, not like a new one, but
they just made.
But it's just like it's in there. You know what I mean? Like that idea of everyone remembers the one-liners is in this movie
to a degree. But I think they make, like I said, they make everybody a little too more jokey. I think that Arnold's jokes work because they're still in character. They're in character of a T-800 not understanding human emotions. Like hugging is irrelevant. Why do we do this? Or like whenever there's like Sarah Connor and him, I like the father-daughter relationship they have. I actually like their relationship in this a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't like Kyle Reese's portrayal. And I think Emilia Clarke does what she can with a role that isn't the best and that she may not be super suited for. And it may just be that the plot's super muddled.
I think they were both given like really difficult jobs here to sort of make sense, because there's a template for both of these people, but they're asking them to do something different with it and be different people. Like her character is 180 degrees from the character that we see in
in Terminator 2. Like Terminator 2, she's awesome. Wait till you see that. She's awesome in that movie.
Yeah, and like this character for him, he's having to deal with. He's having to like emotionally deal with things, and that wasn't the case in the first Terminator movie. He's just a mercenary there to like protect.
Yeah.
But in this one, he's like immediately having to grapple with the fact that everything's changed, the fact that his mission is gone kaput, and he doesn't have. Again, he doesn't really know.
Why is he so jokey when everything's worse? That's what drives me nuts.
That's what he, as an actor, I guess, had to reconcile. Like, that's a different thing.
It's not his fault. But it's the script's fault.
It's the script's fault. Like, they gave him like a totally different emotional arc, and they gave him jokes, and it's like that's
have their cake and eat it too. That's what they want to do.
That's tough to merge.
So I want to talk about what you thought of the first 40 minutes to me, which we won't. We only have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But the first 40 minutes to me, I think is a pretty solid idea. I just think they didn't they kind of painted themselves into a corner and didn't know where to go from there once they jump into the future, where like if you overthink this movie in any way, it immediately falls apart. But if you just go into it and go, the one thing I can give them credit for is they were trying to do something different with a sequel, even though they're, I think, oh God, one of our Twitter followers, one of our fans, was it Bill? I can't remember now. I have dad brain. I'm apologizing. Sorry. One of our Twitter fans was like, yeah, it's like the greatest hits of Terminator movies. And it is. It's like they just throw in everything. They throw in the T-1000, and I think all that stuff is really cool. I actually like all the T-1000 action set pieces in the beginning. I love the how they call back to part 2 where they freeze him with the nitrogen or liquid nitrogen. I think all that is really solid, and there's some fun stuff, and they literally do shot for shot where it looks like you're watching part 1 again and tweak it, and that's such an interesting thing to open up. But the problem is they're not actually saying that they're opening up multiverse or multiple dimensions or timelines. They're more just like, things changed. But I'm like, wait, so does that mean that other timelines still exist somewhere?
Well, and everything should have changed.
Yeah.
Like if we're saying things changed, if we're going back and like she's had a Terminator with her for however many years, like it's Los Angeles is not going to look the same as it did in the first timeline that we experienced.
I mean, wouldn't it still? If only thing back there is a Terminator, like
I don't think so. I think that I don't know. I sort of feel like, again, the butterfly effect, like having something that predates the thing you're going back to, having something like that change, it would also, like, I guess that she's there to receive him.
It would be covert, yeah. It wouldn't be.
Yeah, but like things would have been different. But all of that set aside, because like you said, we can't get bogged down in the logic.
We've already gotten so bogged down, we haven't even talked about the movie yet. We got this. But we're gonna get to plots.
This was such. I really appreciate this as an idea.
Yeah.
I think that this was the right path for them to go down.
Yeah.
And I think in execution, a lot of the decisions they made seem to be decisions of like, we want to achieve this. How do we get to achieve this? We're going to make decisions that don't make sense. So like there are a lot of things like traveling to the moment before Genisys was whatever, right? Like I alluded to when we were doing the 3-minute summary, they decided to take the school bus when they're driving away from the bunker, even though there are 3 motorcycles right there. They decided to take the thing that like is easily identifiable and can be overtaken by any vehicle on the road.
Especially a motorcycle that does overtake it.
Especially a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like just decisions like this don't make sense.
What do you think of the this is a great example of liking something in concept versus reality. I love the idea of 2 Arnolds fighting. And in fact, let's play the clip number 1, which when you listen to this, just imagine if this was a porn parody, that this could very easily be a line from it.
You won't be needing any clothes. I've been waiting for you.
Come on, that's a porn parody line. Come on, that's Terminator Genisys, the porn parody.
Yeah.
You won't be needing any clothes. Like, I love the concept of the T-800 from Skynet being sent back, and then fighting another Terminator. But then the fight scene just looks so cartoonish because he's so clearly fighting a CG. The de-aging and the mocap at first for Arnold looks pretty good, except for his super dead eyes.
And it looks like he's wearing a backpack. He has so many muscles on his back.
Yeah.
It looks very strange.
But once they start fighting, it's literally like he's fighting a character from Gumby. You know, and they even, you can tell they CGI the telephone or the light pole that they shove Arnold's face into. So the scene, when it first happened, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And I'm like, oh. And I even watched it twice just to be like, no, I mean, I appreciate what you're trying to do. That's exactly how I feel about a lot of scenes in this. Where I'm like, hey, you tried something.
Sure.
But you get a participation trophy.
Again, not introducing to us the fact that there's like a good Arnold who's been taking care of her for however many years.
You find that out later, which is fine.
You find it out later, and would have loved to have that fight later. And I know that it's impossible to do because like that is the beginning, but it's like...
I don't think it would have made sense to have it later. I think and I need to maybe rewatch it or have somebody in live chat tell me if they ever justify how the first how
Please
good.
let us know.
Please, Ryan, tell me if anybody in the chat knows, because I don't remember them ever saying. There's no one in the chat because everyone hates this movie.
I'll let you know. But tons of people.
Right, but this is what I'm saying is that they decided before they wrote the movie, we got to have an Arnold on Arnold fight. We have to. And so they did it. But like, I just would have personally, and might just be a me thing, I need to know what's going on before I see two people fight. I just have to.
I think having more of seeing the other movies,
maybe,
and I think starting with that is a very powerful way to be like, visually, hey, we're literally killing off the other timeline.
And I fully get all of that.
So, yeah,
but I just wish that I would have known what was going on with the other Arnold.
See, I don't.
Because he's so different from the Arnold that is coming.
That's where I want to know if they ever clear that up, because I don't remember if they do.
Yeah.
We got 10 sound clips in 10 minutes. Okay, here we go. So the Sarah Connor comes up. She shows up. She saves Kyle Reese in the past, and with the T-1000 attacking. She comes in, and she does the famous line that's in every Terminator movie. Clip number 2.
Come with me if you want to live.
Say that again.
Come with me if you want to live.
So, she's got a little bit of a fun entrance there. That's another way to immediately establish this is a different Sarah Connor. She starts blasting the T-1000. Things are different. And then Arnold and her, this is one of my favorite interactions where Arnold keeps harping at the fact that they have to mate. It's so good, where he's so mathematical about it. So clip number 3, please.
How is he?
Still breathing.
Good. Then you should be able to mate with Cal Reese in this timeline.
Okay, we're not having this conversation again.
So that's where, when they keep saying this timeline, and maybe they were going to explore this because this was supposed to be the first of a new trilogy, maybe they were going to explore that now they've introduced multiple timelines, and now the old timeline still exists. But I don't know. I don't know what, it's so confusing now because I don't know, because you've combined both worlds but now told us it's completely different. What do I pick and choose? What do I still hold on to?
Right. Yeah.
Or none of it, I guess, because they kill it all off.
Yes.
And then they keep hammering this flashback of Genisys is the new Skynet. Remember this. And it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, we get it. We get that he's having this dream over and over. And it's so overt.
But as he says, not a dream, just a memory.
Just a memory.
Yeah.
So then the T-1000 has a great, awesome chase scene. I love when he comes out of the mirror. That was a really cool shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you see that he has a little bit of his liquid metal on the ambulance. And Arnold shoots it off, and then everybody looks at him, and he says, clip number 4.
Old, not obsolete.
Which feels like a metaphor for Arnold's career, where he's old, but he's not obsolete. He's still kicking, and even in the new Terminator, he's still awesome.
Yeah.
It's just they're trying so hard to justify his existence.
I'd say not even a metaphor. I feel like it was explicitly about Arnold.
Explicitly.
Yeah, I think it was.
It's like a line from The Expendables.
Yeah.
So then there's some great throwbacks with the T-1000 attacking the ambulance, prying the door open, fighting there, dragging on the freeway. They keep constantly shooting the head off of the T-1000 and him having so they do a lot of stuff, throwbacks to Robbie Pats. That's what I call him. Robert Patrick. I almost said Robert Pattinson.
I was waiting for it.
That's from The Lighthouse.
He's different.
And then the 2 Kyle Reeses show up, and she shoots him in the foot and didn't know if it was him or not. She just guessed.
Yeah.
Which good thing it worked out for him. And then they have a cool throwback to Terminator 2 where they melt him in the liquid nitrogen, and that's fun, and he shatters, and it's awesome. And then this is, as far as I understand, the best way they try to explain why everything's changed. And live chat people, tell me if this makes sense, because I literally listened to the sound clip 5 times to try and figure out if it's just like movie jargon, like you always say, where it's like, we just say things that sound smart. Can we play clip number 5?
The boy is the alternate timeline version of you. Cal Reese is remembering his own past, which is our future.
That makes it so much better. How can he be remembering 2 timelines?
It is possible if you were exposed to a nexus point in the time flow when you were in a quantum field.
Can you stop him talking like that? Is there a switch or something?
See that line?
Pops, try again.
A nexus point is an event in time of such importance that it gives rise to a vastly different future.
After John was attacked, when I was in the sphere, that's when the memories began.
John! If John Connor were to be killed or compromised, it could result in the ability to remember both pasts.
But why? Because that happened in the future. But that happened in the future. So a nexus point in the future, how does it...
It's a nexus point in the future, but he was going back to the past.
He was going back in the past.
Yeah.
And
so then he had the interaction. We saw him at the very end of the movie have the interaction with his self that he was then remembering.
Sure. But why did the nexus point in why did that moment in the future change everything? Like, I could see if the nexus point happened in the past.
Because you're thinking about it as him going back, but if all the events that happen are linear...
Get ready for clip number 6, please.
If all the events that happen are linear, then the past is now just in the future. So everything that's happened before in your mind is the past, even though some of them were the future. Clip number 6.
Jesus. Time travel makes my head hurt.
I feel like I'm getting physically angry at this movie. Like, I came in here ready to defend it and be like, guys, it's actually a pretty solid sequel. And now the more we talk about it, the more, I don't know if you can tell, I'm getting like physically frustrated at this movie.
I might need to do a supercut of you guys trying to figure this out.
And I know that we haven't spent a ton of time talking about the plot itself, but we're trying to figure it out, because then it gets even more confusing when they go to 2017 and they introduce J.K. Simmons. And literally, because I watched it in 2 parts, because I have a 3-year-old and can't watch movies all at once anymore at home. But when I watched the second part, I was like, wait, was J.K. Simmons in the first half of this movie?
No.
And I had to rewind. I was like, no, he wasn't. So I was like, wait, J.K. Simmons is playing a cop from Terminator 1 who shot up where the T-800 shot up the police station and he survived. But in this timeline, that never happened, because the other Terminator went back and saved Sarah Connor from another Terminator when in the 70s. And so the T-800 never killed those punks and never shot up the police station, but somehow J.K. Simmons still exists in that previous timeline.
Yep.
How?
Right. He doesn't.
That's where I'm like, I don't understand. Because just all they had to do was establish that J.K. Simmons, wait, is he, wait, I just figured it out. Is he supposed to be the cop that survives from the store? I think he is.
What?
I think he's the cop that survives the store from the T-1000, the sporting goods store.
I guess.
But they don't fully establish that.
They don't establish it. They don't establish him at all.
In fact, I thought they specifically...
Detective O'Brien is his name.
Okay, well, maybe it is the cop.
Who knows?
But they literally make it seem, the way they play him up is they make him feel like he's from the first Terminator movie. Like,
you have to give him some sort of identifying something, like have him wear a hat or a pin or something.
Yeah.
So, or just have J.K. Simmons play both guys and give him a wig. He's only in it for 2 seconds. Yeah. So, like, just give us something that attaches the two people.
It is that guy.
It is that guy.
The guy
he's portrayed by Wayne Bastrom in the original Terminator.
Sure, but I guess...
Wait, in the original Terminator?
By Wayne... Sorry.
No. He is the guy in the beginning of the movie. He's supposed to be that cop in the sporting goods shop, right?
Copy that, yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Because now it took me that long to figure this out, which either A, means I wasn't really paying attention, or B, he explains it so explicitly that sounds like Terminator 1 when they shoot up the police station.
All he says is, I survived the shootout, or something like that.
Which, there wasn't a shootout. It was a T-1000. I guess he was shooting. Who cares? Anyways, this is the defining thing that J.K. Simmons says that then makes me wonder, how does he know they're time-traveling robots? Because he didn't know that at the time.
Goddamn time-traveling robots covering up their goddamn tracks. Knew it.
But he didn't know that in the 70s.
No.
And supposedly he's established this whole conspiracy, but they have him in the movie for a total of like 10 minutes.
And he's still on the police force. But if someone like that starts talking about time-traveling robots, you're immediately off the police force.
And
there's no evidence anymore they've time traveled.
Every time he shows up, they're just like, this guy, get him out of here.
Right.
So really, like, why didn't they make him a more major character? He's such a throwaway character that I was so confused with what his point was in this movie.
Yes. And
Oh, this movie's making me so angry.
Just have him in the beginning, someone be like, I'm a time-traveling robot, and give him a little pin that says, I love my wife. And then in the future, have him still have that pin and be like, I knew it.
Something.
Yeah.
So, do we have any time other than 56 seconds, Ryan?
You could get a minute and 56 seconds.
Okay, God. All right. So there are some, again, if you look at it as a purely fun action film and kind of forget about some of the silliness, there's some cool action. I like the idea behind John Connor being sent back as a Trojan horse to try and convert Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese to his side. I like that idea, and I think that that's a decent. Let's play that clip, actually.
I can't be bargained with. Can't be reasoned with. God, please! I don't feel pity or remorse or fear. John, please! And I absolutely will not stop ever until Skynet rules this world.
Rule this.
I do like that. I do like Amelia Clark saying rule this. Now, John, please! That's terrible. And I know, I have several bad clips of me acting, so I understand Jai Courtney. I think he's actually probably super talented, and he just hasn't been given decent stuff to work with. Yeah, I like the idea of making John Connor the bad guy. Like, we've always seen him as the savior.
Sure.
Make him the bad guy. But then it's such a half-baked idea, and there's no conflict within him. In that moment, Jason Clarke, I think, he's showing in his eyes, he's tearing up a little, which to me, as the actor, was him trying to show, like, look, I'm trying to fight through this. But there's nothing in the script that says that. There's nothing in the script that says that John is any push and pull. He's just all bad.
Yes.
Which, wow, like, come on, man. Like, if you're going to say he's possessed by Genisys and he's now half machine, it's just this movie's trying to do too much. It should have spread it out over 2 movies or fully fleshed out some more ideas. It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And then J.K. Simmons comes in, so they blow up the bunker with all their weapons. They only have like 5 guns. They go to Genisys right before the launch, like you said, and J.K. Simmons comes in to free them from jail again. Can we play this? Clip number 10.
Why are they always trying to kill you? I want to help you. I do, I think. But I gotta understand. I know what's going on here has to be really, really complicated.
We're here to stop the end of the world.
I can work with that.
Which if you build him up enough, I can laugh at that moment and not care. But it's just like, I don't even know what. We don't have any more time, but
there are 2 things that I wanted to say, and they're very important to me. One, John Connor lets slip that the guy's his dad.
Yeah.
Even though he's lived with him for however long and never once said dad, all of a sudden he's just like dad.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, hold on, wait.
Wouldn't that potentially, like, if he kills either of them, doesn't he stop existing?
He doesn't exist. Yes. So that's a thing that ties into that. The second thing is the very end when Amelia Clarke goes to like the young, Kyle Reese?
Yeah.
And she's like, I've someone that I need you to say that I need you to talk to. Like, he's met her once and she just approached him out of nowhere on his front yard. And then she brings someone he knows to be a prisoner over to him. And he's like, this is my gospel. Like, that's weird.
Yeah,
that's weird.
It's weird.
Where are his parents? Go ahead.
So the thing but maybe him killing them will fulfill Skynet's goal anyways, which is to kill John Connor. So by making John Connor the bad guy, and then making him kill his parents, then he never exists. Good, then Genisys
But he
still
also
wins.
built up Genisys, so then they lose.
You're right.
Yep.
Nothing makes sense.
Yep.
But hey, maybe if Terminator Dark Fate does well in China, then Arnold will be able to say,
I'll be back.
Who knows? There were 6 Resident Evil movies. Like I said, there's moments in here that are decent, and there's some ideas that could have worked, but I've realized through this conversation how mad this movie makes me. Let us know what you thought about Terminator Genisys. Where does it rank in the sequels? What'd you think of Dark Fate? And hey, what did you
think of Pixels?
Until next time, where can they find you, Jesse?
On Twitter and Instagram at Too Much Jesse, and for Sketch at The Prom Losers.
You can find me at the Ben Begley. You can find us at Guilty Movie Guys. Keep your suggestions rolling in for this holiday season. Until next time, what is your guilty movie pleasure?
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed here